Oi oi, alright, how's it going? I'm Grant, you're you. This is Doodle Review, and as it's the end of the first 3 months, the first quarter, if you're a suit, of 2024, I thought I'd do a roundup of the highs and lows we've had so far in this year of music. If you've not got around to a lot of new albums lately, perhaps you find it hard to ditch your old favourites to try something new, don't worry, I've got you. I have made a playlist that features one song from every single new album that has released in 2024 that I've listened to. It literally has everything. We're talking Ariana Grande to Schoolboy Q to VJ Aya to Judas Priest. It's eclectic as hell, but one of my favourite things to do, and this is no joke, sadly, revealing how fucking boring I am, is to make playlists and try and piece together different songs, even if they have nothing to do with each other. As a result, I actually think this playlist flows pretty well, and if you're a freak like me who legit likes all these styles of music, I suggest you hit the link and let it play below. If you are a bit more selective with your genres, that's all good. Check out the playlist anyway and just grab the tracks that you're interested in. They're kind of grouped together in pockets of genres. So yeah, give it a listen, tell me what you reckon. If you see artists that you don't recall having seen a review of on this channel, it's because I may not have gotten to the review yet, but don't worry, it's coming soon. Okay, so let's do a recap of these 3 months then, starting with worst of the year so far. Well, the absolute worst thing I've listened to this year so far has to go to The Vaccine's latest pickup full of pink carnations. As I said in my review, I've always found it frustrating that The Vaccines have managed to build a career on removing anything that was actually interesting from the UK indie scene of the late 2000s, and yet largely managing to avoid the label of indie landfill. Full-blown absolute Radio X, Johnny Vaughan, fuckbag, indie dross next. So best new discoveries. When I say discovery, I don't mean I've had my ear to the ground at open mics and I'm about to talk about some promising unknowns. These are just artists that were new to me. So Office Dog is probably the first of those I'd mentioned. They're a New Zealand based indie rock meets emo-y kind of vibe. I felt reviewing the album that some of the songs could have been developed a little bit further or like really popped off, but there's definitely some enjoyable stuff in the mix. If you enjoy artists like Pinegrove, like Daisy, Anxious or Alex G, I suggest you give these guys and their album Spiel a look. Next, I'll shout out Detroit rapper Bruiser. I first heard him on the Danny Brown album Quarenta last year, and so I thought I'd give this a look. And wow, I mean, you've got to have a head for some explicit, crude and pretty out there lyrics, but if you're up for that, this guy is out here sounding like Old Dirty Bastard mixed with Bootsy Collins with the music of Curtis Mayfield. Super playable. Okay, so this is a weird category name, but I wanted to create a space for those records that are just easy to rock. We talk so much about best albums, and sometimes those albums are obviously amazing, but they often might come with a level of intensity. They aren't always accessible. It doesn't mean the two can't be one and the same, but a lot of times they aren't. So in this category, I'm going to shout out the Liam Gallagher John Squire album. As I said in my review, in my opinion, and it's just an opinion, the album kind of didn't really offer much of the more interesting aspects of either artist's catalogue, but what we got is a really listenable, really enjoyable ode to British invasion, 60s, 70s rock, pulling on everyone from Beatles to The Who to Jimi Hendrix Experience. The latter decidedly not British invasion, but The Experience were British and they played a lot over here first. Also, you can't listen to Love Me Forever and tell me it's not Hendrix influenced. This one is a really easy and really fun listen. I'd also put the latest Alkaline trio in this category. I definitely feel like there's some stuff that's a bit overproduced when trying to kind of objectively or critically look at the album, but on just kind of putting something on to rock out to or sing along with, then yeah, this is like super playable. Versions of You, Hot for Preacher, Teenage Heart, bangers. So most surprising albums, these are a few albums I really didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. The first, I'd have to say, The Last Dinner Party. I was ready to start giving it all the industry plant talks because of the seemingly overnight rise of these guys, but the album's actually brilliant. This is a really well executed collection of art rock songs that in particular are really well arranged. While songs might start slow, the hooks hit within the first 30 seconds and they're always big. Next, I'd have to put in the Frank Carter and Rattlesnakes latest album. I really thought I was going to be treated to some knockoff Tranquility Base Arctic Monkeys sort of vibes here, but I was pleasantly surprised. It still carries a fair amount of the generic pop rock songwriting of their other albums, but there are some undeniable hooks and great production on Dark Rainbow, so it could definitely go in the super playable category as much as a surprise. I'm also going to say the Black Crows. Before I listened to this, I was expecting heavy boomer white dude blues rock vibes a la Joe Bonamassa, but what I actually got was some solid classic hard rock with exceptional live band production. If we're talking most disappointing albums here, I'm going to have to say Green Day's new album Saviors. This actually has a few enjoyable tracks on it, but it just wasn't it. Like, I felt the band were potentially promising a bit of a reset and a move away from the kind of sports mascot theme music that they've been producing lately, with something a little rawer, maybe even evoking American Idiot or earlier, but what we got wasn't really that, though a couple of songs definitely shine. I really enjoy Living in the 20s, and a couple others were alright as well, but when you hit me with the Pink, like na 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 na, you've lost me. Okay, so best albums then. I'm not going to whittle it down to just one because there have actually been a bunch of fantastic records so far this year. So let's do it by category. Best hip hop album undoubtedly has to go to ScHoolboy Q's latest Blue Lips. This is kind of a masterpiece, and it hits somewhere like a mix of Tyler's Call Me If You Get Lost, Vince Staples' Ramona Park Broke My Heart, and Q's own Blank Face record. For best R&B album, I'm gonna probably split it between Brittany Howard and Kali Uchis. Both have caveats to that label of R&B, but it's loosely what you could ascribe to them. Howard has this kind of lo-fi neo-funk thing going with some really kind of avant-garde ambient production, and Kali Uchis has delivered an album that explores many great Latin genres. Catchy but also engaging and interesting. Best alternative album, or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to go with The Smile. I think more than their first album, this really gave the band a reason to exist outside of Radiohead, and it's just pretty awe-inspiring from top to bottom. And I'm going to say Sleater Kinney had the best rock album, and I actually feel like this has not gotten the attention it should have, although it could quite easily kind of fit into that alternative category too. Before I knock it on the head, one last shout out for the playlist. Dead keen for you to check it out. It's linked in the description below. Let me know what you reckon. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video for the next 3 months. Cheers.